Hello and welcome to Louise Singleton Creations. As you can see, I'm in front of the camera today because I fancied a change. I can't hide behind the camera forever, can I? So here I am in front of the camera and I've got quite an exciting video. I don't know what's going to happen. It might work, it might not. But what I'm going to be doing is making a silicone mould of a fresh berry. It's not dried, it's very fresh and juicy. It could be messy. Who knows? If you don't try, you don't know. That's my motto. You've got to try and find out. I'm also going to try and do a mould, make a mould of a strawberry. If I've got enough silicone, I've nearly run out. I've only got, let me show you. It's a bit slippery. I've only got this much left. So we'll see what I can make. If I've got enough, I want 2 moulds of my strawberry and my bramble or blackberry. I call them brambles. We've got loads in the garden. So that's what we're going to do. Stay tuned and let's see if it works. I'm going to be making my berry moulds in these little plastic shot glasses because they're the perfect size. I already have my silicone mixed because I filmed this once and made a couple of mistakes and wanted to change the way that I was doing it. So that's why you can see I've already got my silicone mixed in some different cups. But it's just a 1-to-1 silicone. It's pure mould from Resin Pro, and it's just a 1-to-1 silicone which you mix up just like you would if you were using resin. So yeah. Just explaining why it's already mixed and I haven't shown that part. And I've poured it into the cup and I have my berry there with the stem still on, and I'm just going to dip it into that silicone which is all nicely mixed up, and I'm going to hold it into position with this little gadget here, and I'm trying to remember what it's called, helping hand or something like that. I think it's a helping hand. It's really handy. Anyway, I'm just using it to keep the berry elevated and to stop it from sinking too far into the silicone. Another way to elevate the berry would be to leave the branch on and use 2 sticks. You can see I've got 2 sticks there because I already tried that method. And put the 2 sticks across the top of your cup and hang the berry, because it's still on the branch, over the 2 sticks, and that works as well. I just found that this little gadget, because I already had it, I would use it and it did work a bit better, but yeah, if you don't have one, you don't have to go out and buy one, you can just use 2 sticks. You might have noticed at the bottom of the screen there that there's a cup with a very sad looking strawberry in it. That was my first attempt, and the problem I had with it was once the silicone was in, the strawberry kept floating to the top, and that was no good. I needed it to stay stuck to the bottom. So this is my second attempt, and this time I'm using my glue gun. And yeah, you might be thinking, well, that's not going to work on a wet strawberry. But you know what? It actually did. It kept it in position just enough for the silicone to go in and for it to not float to the top, and that's all you need. It doesn't need to be like permanent adhesion, just enough to keep it stuck to the bottom while that silicone goes in and sets. So I just mixed up the last of my silicone. I'd just about run out, but luckily I had the perfect amount to do the strawberry and a half strawberry as well, which I hadn't planned to do, but I decided to do that as well. So once it was mixed, I just poured it over the strawberry, and all you have to do after that is wait. It's so simple. Depending on the environment you're in, it can take between about 4 to even 8 hours for that silicone to be ready for demoulding, and really you're supposed to wait about a day before you actually use the mould. So yeah, but I'm not one for following rules, and I'm not patient either, so I didn't wait a day. Right now it's time for my half strawberry mould. It's a little bit of a different method for this one, so I'm just going to show you how I did it. So I'm just taking off the stem and I'm going to cut the strawberry in half. Now, because this one has a flat surface, it's much easier to make a mould from because you can just put that flat surface down on a sticky back plastic and build a barrier around it and then pour the silicone on, and it makes a nice neat mould. And here I'm using Lego bricks. It's not actually Lego, it's Lego type bricks. I know the Lego is just the brand name, isn't it? This is the cheap version. So yeah, I'm just building my barrier with my building bricks and making sure it's the right size. And yeah, I just like playing with Lego. It's my excuse to play with Lego. So I'm just placing down a square of sticky backed plastic, sticky side up. I've just put it on a hard surface. It's just an old tile. And so as you can see, the sticky back plastic is stuck to the barrier, and then I just pop the flat side of the strawberry into place and it's ready for the silicone. Let's see how these moulds turned out. After about 6 hours, it was firm enough to demold, and I'm just taking off all the barriers, and that's why I've sped it up because it's not a very interesting part, and we'll go back down to normal speed now. Right then, so the strawberry came out really easily. It was still firm, surprisingly, and the mould has turned out really good. And you can see all the little indentations from the strawberry seeds. So I was really pleased with that one. Now, if you've spotted that bowl of water at the side there, that was because I anticipated things getting quite messy, and they did with with the bramble. It got quite messy, but even with this strawberry, it didn't quite come out whole, and that's really just because I was squeezing it at the bottom to get it out of the mould. So, but other than that, it came out pretty good, and the mould looked, just like the last one. The details from the strawberry were all there too. So anyway, just to clean the inside of that mould, I just took an old toothbrush and gave it a little bit of a brush around inside, and that one was all sorted. Right then, on to the bramble. Now, you know, and I know, how delicate these kind of berries are. The strawberries are nice and firm, but this is a completely different story. So I've got my water there ready again, and because the silicone went over the top of the berry, I'm just cutting away some of the silicone so that I can get into the mould. And I'm not even going to try and explain what I'm doing here because you can see for yourself. Do you know what? It was actually really satisfying. It's a bit like I probably shouldn't say this, especially not if you're eating your lunch, but it's a bit like squeezing spots. I don't know if any of you have seen that Dr. Pimple Popper, but there's something quite satisfying about it. Yeah, I do. I'm one of those people that can sit and watch people squeezing spots, and so yeah, I quite enjoyed this. Anyway, I did struggle to get it all out. So I've got some of those cotton buds, Q-tips, and I'm just giving it a good rub around. I can't get my toothbrush in that one because it's too small, but I just took ages actually trying to get it cleaned out. So that was the hardest part of it, really, getting it clean. But I got there in the end, and then it was ready to see if it had worked. Right, I'm back. Everything's ready. The moulds are ready. I don't know what they're going to be like. I'm pretty certain that the strawberry ones are going to be really good. I'm going to put jesmonite in the strawberry ones. The bramble one, I'm not too sure about. We'll see. I'm going to put resin in the bramble one. Now, today I'm going to be using something for the first time, which has been very kindly sent to me by a company called J Diction. And they've sent me some resin. I've never even taken it out of the box, so let's have a look. So we've got mixing cups. Oh, we've got the pipettes. And all sorts in here. The resin, and I think it's 1:1 by volume. Yeah, 1:1 by volume. And so I've never tried this before, so I'm going to try this today. And they've also sent me this box, which I was quite excited about, because at first I thought it was all mica powders, but it's not. So you get your instructions, you get I've used some of that, there was more in there, I've had a go with that one. I've got all these mica powders, loads and loads. And I'll leave a link to all of this in the description, and I think there's going to be a discount code as well, and I'll find out about that, but I think there will be a discount code. So that's all those mica powders, and then we've got the liquid pigments as well for resin, and there's some really nice colours there too. But I was really excited. I was most excited about the spoon that came with it. So it's kind of a copper coloured, it's a proper metal spoon, and it's really nice, you know, for your powders. So I think I love things like that. I was the most excited about the spoon than I was about everything else. So yeah, but I'll lose it. I always lose these things. Right, so I'm going to use for my my bramble, I'm going to use a mixture of the purple, the red, and the black. So I can put everything else away. Oh, and there were some gloves as well, look. So all sorts in there. So let's hope these all turn out to be really cool, and I'll get them again. And I've just dropped my mixing cup. Right, so I'm going to change the camera angle over so you can see what I'm doing. Now I've shown off my goodies. So yeah, thank you again, J Diction. J Diction, I really hope I said that right. And anyway, I'll see you again in a second. Let's mix up this resin. I've measured out 10 millilitres of part A and 10 millilitres of part B because it's a 1:1 resin, and it just needs carefully mixing up for about 2 minutes. I'm actually not too worried about bubbles because you're not going to really see the tiny micro bubbles in the berries, so I'm not obsessing too much about bubbles today. My first impressions of this resin from J Diction is that there's no, well, I say there's no smell. I couldn't smell anything, but some people say different resins have got a smell to them, and I haven't been able to smell it, so it could be my sense of smell. So, you know, you can't completely trust me on that one, but I couldn't smell anything. And it's quite a nice thin resin. It's a casting and coating resin. I'm not sure what the maximum casting depth will be. I'm guessing it will be around 2 centimetres, which is usually, you know, the depth of these casting resins. If you want to use a resin that you're going to pour deeper than that, you will need to get a resin that's specifically for deep pouring and, you know, deep casting. So yeah, just be careful of that. Always check the information. So anyway, once your resin is poured and mixed, you can add your drops of colour, and like I said before, I've used the colours that J Diction sent me, the liquid pigments, and they turned out brilliant for the brambles. Yeah, the colour just was great for them, and I'm really pleased. I used about 3 or 4 drops of each colour in the end to get my bramble colour, and it was the black, the purple and the red. I wanted it to be opaque. I didn't want to be able to see through them, so I did put plenty in. The resin kit did come with 2 pipettes for applying the resin. So I used one to fill my first berry mould because it's such a small hole. I thought it would be handy, but I've got to say it worked better when I gave up with the pipette and just poured it in. But I thought I'd try it, but it was just too much of a pain doing it that way. So yeah, I would recommend just pouring it in. Right, because this is such a small mould and I know there's going to be lots and lots of little nooks and crannies in there, I gave it a good squeeze. And when I say a good squeeze, I don't mean a hard squeeze, because if you do that, it's just going to squirt out at you and squirt in your face. A very gentle squeeze, but for a long time. Keep squeezing it, keep gently banging it on the table to make sure that any trapped air pockets escape, because there's loads of places for air to get trapped in there. So yeah, spend a lot of time just gently manipulating it. Please don't squeeze it. Right, onto my strawberries, and for those I'm going to be using Jesmonite, not resin. And the reason I'm using the Jesmonite is because I'm going to paint the strawberries afterwards, and so there's no need for it to be resin at all. So it's much easier to use the Jesmonite, plus it cures in about half an hour, and then nice and quick. So I like that. Quick is good. So I've measured it out and I'm going to add some red Jesmonite pigment. I'm not too worried about getting it the right colour because, like I said before, I'm going to be painting them. It just gives it a good base, a good starting point if it's already red. So just quickly colour in it and then I'll pour it in. Same as before with the resin, same technique, and then we just need to wait. So after half an hour, the Jesmonite strawberries were ready to come out of the mould. And as you can see, the mould has worked really well. We've got all the details of the strawberry in there. I'm sorry about the lighting. I did this part late at night, but you should be able to see. So yeah, it picks up all of the detail and I was really happy about that. And then all I needed to do was just sand down the rough edges where I'd poured the Jesmonite in at the opening and they were ready to paint. Okay, I don't know about you, but this is the moment I've been waiting for. It was the next morning and I got up bright and early because once my eyes were open, I thought, when you wake up and you try to think what you're doing that day, and my moulds just came into my head. Oh, my moulds! I need to see how the berries have turned out. So I rushed up and I came down and had a look, and well, see what you think. You decide if it was a success. I actually made 2 of the berry moulds. One of them I made off camera because I just wanted to make sure I had a good one. So yeah, the lighting could be better, but hopefully you can see that actually, well, I think that looks like a real berry. The moulding of a natural, fresh, juicy berry has actually worked, and I'm really, really happy with the result. The first time you demold one of your resin berries from these moulds, it is quite difficult because there's lots of little bits that had seeped into the original berry, so that were sticking out on the inside of the mould. If you can imagine, it had gone into all the little nooks and crannies. So they'd all got stuck in the resin. But after you've demolded your first one, the next one should be fine. It should have got rid of all those bits of silicone. Okay, let's paint these strawberries, see if we can make them look real. I went through all my acrylic paints and I found 2 paints which I decided on. Wasn't sure if it would work, and this paint, you can see how old it is. It's all separated, so yeah, I had to mix it all back up again. But anyway, it's Rose Madder, and I've also got some cadmium orange because Strawberries have got kind of an orangey hue to them, haven't they? At the top, the thickest end seems to be more orangey red, and the tip of the strawberry is more reddy red. But I found that this rose madder paint works pretty well, so that's what I decided on. And see what you think anyway. I blended the two colours together and dried the brush a little bit, and then I just used the side of the brush to paint the top of the strawberry, the fat part of the strawberry. And the reason I used the side of the brush was because I didn't want to go into the little holes. I wanted to be able to keep that contrast of the colour in the indentation so that they weren't painted, if that makes any sense. And then I used more of the reddy colour for the tip. There was a few layers that I did. You won't see it all now. I'm just quickly showing you a bit of what I did to get that more realistic looking strawberry results. Right, I really wanted some stems and leaves for my berries, and I thought of all different ways of making some. But then I thought to myself, hang on a minute, why don't I just dry some of the actual stems and leaves and then cover them in UV resin? So that's what I've done for this video. So I've got an airtight tin and my silica gel crystals. I'm just putting some in the bottom, and then I'm just going to snip down all my stems and my tops from my strawberries and dry them out in the silica gel. Now, because I'm impatient and because I was in the middle of making this video, I didn't have time to wait for them to dry. So I will be showing you the process of covering them in resin without drying them, but don't do that. You must dry them first. I've just done it the way I've done it today for the purposes of the video. Anyway, I'm ahead of myself now. Basically what I'm doing here is taking all the berries off and getting the stems into the sizes that I think I'll be able to use them in my finished pieces. So trimming them off, putting them in the gel, and I would leave them for about a week. I think it says, I'm not sure if the directions on the packet said 2 days, but I would leave them a week. If I was going to leave them, as I've just said, I didn't, because I'm impatient. Anyway, that's what you do. I do waffle sometimes, don't I? Sometimes I get on my own nerves. Anyway, once your stems and leaves have dried for a week, not like me, but we won't mention that again, you can cover them in resin. Now, I suppose you could use normal resin, although I don't know, I'm not sure how that would work. It would be a bit drippy. The reason I use UV resin is because it cures like instantly, well, within a minute or two under a UV lamp. So that's why I love UV resin so much for things like this. So I'm just dripping it all over it, completely coating it. I've closed my curtains in my room, and you should always do that if you're using UV resin. Close your curtains and work under artificial light, because otherwise your resin will start to cure while you're using it without putting it under the lamp even. The daylight will cure it. So yeah, close your curtains, drip it all over your stem into a cup that you can reuse, and then cover the cup up before you turn your lamp on. I've made that mistake before, and then everything in your cup cures and you're wasting all your resin. So cover your cup up when it's finished dripping, stick your leaf under the lamp for a minute or two, and it will be coated in nice hard resin. And there we have it. Nice and strong. I would probably, if I was doing it properly and I'd dried it out like I should have done, and I knew that this was going to be the one, I would give it a second coat to make sure it was extra strong. But because I didn't dry these out and I'm only doing it for the purpose of the video, I'm not going to be wasting any more resin on that one. excuse me, because I'm just not sure how long it will last with those fresh leaves. Yeah, they might not last at all because I didn't dry them. To glue the stems to the berries, I'm using 2-part epoxy glue. It's the Araldite one. You don't have to use that. That's just what I've got in at the moment because I've been doing some Jesmonite, and Jesmonite works well with that glue. So that's the glue I've been using. But I would also recommend the what's it called? E6000. That works really well with resin. When you're gluing 2 pieces of resin together, that works well too. But yeah, so I've mixed up my 2-part adhesive, and I will just use that to glue the berries to the stems. So here we have the finished result. I'm so pleased that I decided to go ahead with my crazy idea of moulding a fresh and juicy berry. I thought it wasn't going to work, but it did work, and it just goes to show if you don't try, you don't know. This clip also gives you a bit of a clue about what my next video is going to be, so stay tuned for that one, coming very soon. You can check the description to this video for all the links to the products I've used today, and also the links and discount codes for J Diction, which I would highly recommend. I was really impressed with the results of their resin and pigments. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.